behind you! Another limb is ripped from its body! If you're dead, thank you! Are so terrible and so hideous that even as pieces of it rise up anew, it is cut down by 1,000 strikes. Gonna heal us? We need lots of healers. What are you doing? As far as you can see, the ground is stained red and putrid. A mist of blood and mystery.
I've been picking rocks off beaches since I was like 5. I've also done chemistry and physics and biology and a short course in astrophysics. My thesis is on architecture and paleoecology of channelized slope deposits at Orongo Point, Okahukura Peninsula, Kaipara Harbour, New Zealand.
It's a complex job. Surprisingly, most people don't seem to think of it. They just see you standing there in your uniform looking like a human statue for 12 hours. Just safety conscious, keeping people away from the tracks. We get a lot of taggers down there during the day, people trying to leave their marks on seats or spray painting at the back of the buildings and so forth. It's an annoyance, but we've got to look out for it. Otherwise, it's just pretty dull. You're not spending 12 hours on your feet watching the world go by.
When you're talking about other parents, is like when the kids came to the birthday party and they come to these themed sort of birthday parties. I think that some parents were like, oh, kind of that's a bit odd, but were really into it because the kids really enjoyed it. And when they heard that we did it for real, definitely some parents were like, ooh, okay.
This is my humble house, and there are actually 3 Mordavians living here, and another 4 people that say they will come, and 1 person that thinks it's ridiculous that we go out and pretend to be other people. Yeah, one of those is my girlfriend. Necessary flipping light. This is the loft, which really doubles as a workroom for myself and a bunch of other larpers in the house. And here we have it. In here I have been making a werewolf costume.
Well, live-action role-playing, or Larping, is a pastime which is taking off around the world. It allows players to give up their normal lives for a night or a weekend and escape into an entirely different reality. And it's found a following here.
Live-action role-playing is, in essence, theatre without an audience.
When you LARP, you pretend to be someone else. Ryan Paddy, who organises the whole thing, the Big Chieftain, says it's playing pretend for adults. I've heard someone else say it's like a really, really elaborate game of dress-ups.
There's lots of different ways of experiencing fiction. You can go to a movie and you can feel kind of enveloped in it, or you can read a book and sometimes you feel like you're drawn into the story in the book and all the rest. You can play a computer game where you get to actually control who you are, like those online role-playing games and things. You control a little character wandering around. But there's nothing else other than LARP that allows you physically to put yourself inside a fiction.
It becomes a whole new world of LARPing.
The roots of LARPing lie in tabletop role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons, which became popular in the 1970s. Mordavia is New Zealand's largest live-action role-playing game.
It's based on a computer game. Can't remember what it is. I think it's like Quest for Glory 4.
Quest for Glory 4, Shadows of Darkness. Shadows of Darkness, what does that mean? So thus, Mordavia was sort of born out of this very combat-intensive game with a horror theme.
I went into the medieval shop and they had this flyer on Moldavia on the counter, and I picked it up and said, I am going to go to this and I'm going to get my friends to come too. And I ragged them until they came, and we all went to our first Moldavia, and it was wonderful, and I've never looked back.
Well, I have used it. Cool. Okay, what we're doing today is we're moving the gear from under Ryan's house into my shed at my place, because I've taken on the role of gear guy. This is the golem suit, the bit that you step in through the back zip, hop and wear this. You put the arms on, and you put the head on, and you have a very realistic looking stone golem who plods around and is really powerful, and it's cool.
Does this make it? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Mordavia is played at a local scout camp. During games, the camp transforms into Berium, a small town found within the magical kingdom of Moldavia. Set in Eastern Europe in the middle of the 15th century, the area is a melting pot of fantasy and medieval characters.
It's really Dungeons & Dragons, it's really Wizards and Warlocks, it's really Lord of the Rings. There's orcs and monsters and high fantasy and swords, sandals.
In Mordavia, you can be either a game master, crew member, or a player. The GMs and crew are based in the crew room, while the rest of the campground represents the game world.
Like the cleansing will happen so much.
The game is organised and run by the game masters. They create the setting, set the rules, as well as direct the crew.
Okay, and this is the most important thing, is about respawn.
The game master watches the game and makes sure everything happens as it ought to, and says, oh, there's players making plot there. You three, get up into orc suits and go over there. Or, what do you want to do next? You want to play a fae? Cool. Put on some grey robes and get another couple of people and go haunt such and such an area of the manor.
The crew take on a number of different roles during each game, depending on what is needed. They bring the setting to life for the players.
I'm being a ghoul, which is kind of it's someone that's died in the swamp and has sort of been possessed by the Dark One to rise again and come out and do his bidding.
Players take on the role of the character in the fictional setting. For a whole weekend, they immerse themselves into the world of Mordavia.
I grew up surrounded by ancient history, and that's what led me to study, and that's what led me to hope to one day become an archaeologist. I wasn't thinking the whole Indiana Jones thing with the fedora hat and the bullwhip. I really wanted to know what the past was like. I've been to uni now for 3 years. Still haven't finished my degree yet. Doesn't help with the last two times I went, I ended up having a marriage breakdown. So I thought, if I do go back to university again, don't get married. No immediate plans to do that at the moment, so.
The joys of taking out compost. You know, we own a house and we have jobs, and you know, we don't want to be living on the poverty line. And
I program Microsoft software. What up?
You're a geek, darling. I mean that's the thing. We have, in some respects, quite a regular, respectable type lifestyle. I'm 36. I'm
37.
Yeah.
I'm 37. I'm proud of it.
But I mean, even my professional colleagues, you know, they know that I'm a little left of centre, and that's all good. I still do a very good job when I'm being a sign language interpreter, and I'm very professional in my conduct and all that sort of stuff.
But I do sometimes think, you know, you go to people's places and it's always clean, and it's always tidy, and there's not much shit around anywhere. Like, they just don't have much gear, and you think, what do they do? Like, you got nothing to build stuff with. What do? You just consume? Is that what you do? You just consume and be careful about what you consume?
I think that's a really fair statement.
In the werewolf costume, there's, I think, about 30 metres of army grade duct tape. There's $30 worth of plumbing, about $200 worth of fur, 2 metres of hot melt glue. There's 1 teddy bear nose, and there's also almost 2 litres of ADOS F2 spray glue. There's a gas mask. So these are built around a pair of crutches. But I think it's been one of the things that really makes this costume what it is, because it fundamentally changes the way that you move as a person. It's really like that whole animal thing where you can't do some things, but you've got all these new things you can do. And it really helps with getting into character. I looked at all these pictures of werewolves, and one of the ones I liked was in Van Helsing, and I decided that was the most recent serious depiction of a werewolf, and I was going to try and copy that. I mean, I don't even like werewolves. Werewolves are totally not me at all. I mean, at the end of this, I'm probably going to turn it into a monkey suit. And there you have it. That's basically the completed costume. I remember putting this on with these furred for the first time, and I kind of looked around, and then I looked at my hands, and they weren't my hands, and I thought, now I'm immersed in this character, that I am completely something different now.
I don't know, I start on about Friday night as soon as my full costume is on. Occasionally if I have to drive to a place, I might put my ears on first and drive with my ears on, and I don't tend to be in character while I'm driving because that's just too anachronistic, but yeah.
Preparations begin on the Friday afternoon. Later that evening, the players arrive and ready themselves for the weekend ahead.
Whereas full orcs can only speak in one syllable. Yeah, go gypsies, man, go gypsies. Iron wills. That's quite cool, you've got iron wills.
Players' weapons are tested for safety, and they receive items for use in the game, such as money and spells. The Game Masters then brief the players on the current state of play, as well as the camp rules.
And the event takes place in the darkest night of winter.
After the game, it's a lot of cleaning up to do, and in the past, and it's really unfortunate that this is the case, a lot of people have just gone. Please help to clean up, and there will be jobs to do.
The players then enter the game in character, where they will remain for the entire weekend.
Has anyone seen the fake blood around?
Mordavia at night is a dangerous place, filled with monsters and ghouls. These creatures are played by the crew, with direction from the Game Masters.
I don't want you to be just monsters moaning. I don't want you to kind of walk around groaning in the forest, kind of. We're gonna get something here. Like that, and maybe like make noises like that, just to kind of feel that the forest is more alive and a bit more dangerous. Do you know what I mean? And when you've got 2 hit points, so 1, 2 means that you're dead.
Players unfortunate enough to die during the game return to the crew room. From here they either create a new character or become part of the crew.
I spent like $100 on getting this costume made. I was still going to pay for it. But one of the other players made it for me, and it's like, oh, weird thing going on as demons seem to do it. And it lasted an hour and a half until I got sapped and killed. I think I'll play a new player.
Yes, a hall. Feather Hall. You may call me Count Feather Hall. Call us. You may address us. No, they got it. You may address me as. Now, where is this counterfeit? This forgery? I would have it, and I would have you. And we will return to Valasia.
Just not good.
And we will return with you to Valasia.
We're not going to have this huge combat.
No.
Next time.
Oh, we're going to probably be breakfast.
What is it? What is your title? A commoner! Do not address me! Do not be so presumptuous!
During the game, the players experience the trials and tribulations of life in Moldavia.
She attacked me and she took from me a family heirloom.
Let us start a new phase. A phase an Andre Asa.
Free for these players to go out and be monsters for a little
Yeah, I think so. So long as you can do with the players. Can we do the eyes in the front?
Bugs with the fear is not going. So did they chase you?
Yeah, they did. They tracked me actually, which was quite cool.
Tracked you?
Yeah. They didn't attack first, which was interesting.
They didn't? So they stopped there and looked at you first.
Yeah, and
you see the steam coming off your head, right?
The call of, okay, that's it folks, the game has ended, is actually a very effective snap out. Because it makes you think that it's finished and the character switches off.
I'm tired, I want to go home, I want to have a proper shower, I want to get into some normal clothes.
Well, this is I think it's my 5th weekend game, so I know exactly what to expect as part of the wind down. Just clean up and take your aching body home.
After weekend Moldavia games, I tend to go into something called emotion crash, when I have no emotions left and I can't handle anything. I just go and sleep for like a day. Well, part of that might be the fact that I've stayed up until 2 AM fighting monsters.
I know, unfortunately I took a crack to the head. Physically I'll be fine in the next couple of days. Emotionally I'm a little drained at the moment. I'm sorry, I had a bit of an anxiety attack straight after the injury because I have been trying so hard to be the big, lieutenant, lead my men, keep my men alive. And yeah, when I went down, I just felt I can't be there for them. And that was just, it was just a bit of pain, confusion, and yeah, I just lost it for a few seconds, as you do. But tomorrow, I'm going to take it easy because my life is going to kill me.
The Afterlife is a social gathering held after each weekend game, where Larpers can get together and meet each other out of character.
You can go for 2 or 3 games just knowing someone by their character name. Then you meet them on the street and you don't know what to call them.
By getting to know each other outside the game, you learn to trust each other. And it's quite important to be able to trust the people that you're role-playing with. They won't know whether you're a bastard or you play your character as a bastard. Until they meet you at the Afterlife and have a drink with you and say, oh cool, that, you're just this guy who plays a really good character.
how we met. I do believe our first meeting was actually at Solstice, wasn't it?
It was at Solstice, yeah.
And then at Conclave, which was the event which was filmed by TV3, we kind of got to know each other.
Yeah.
Creed and Star kind of went, yeah, hi.
Hi, we sort of noticed each other and got to talking in character, and before the game we were talking out of character.
Well, apart from Conclave, Creed and Star never had in-game interaction.
It was all on the in-character forum for a long time. We were hoping by the next weekend game we could sort of formally get the two characters together.
And then my character died in a day game, and it was a real mess. But you know.
Okay, I had a few too many.
Yeah, so did I.
She had a few too many. Next thing I know, the two of us are all over each other.
It was...
I had a hell of a job explaining that to my wife when I got home. I basically got wrapped across the knuckles and told, next time behave myself, but, I actually didn't say I wanted to talk about this, but I will say this much, since Tracy and I have split up. A few months later, me and Erin caught up with each other again, and... yeah.
Started going out after a while.
After a while, and we've been going out ever since.
He's 42 and I'm 20. 21 in about a week's time. So, yeah.
What can I say?
I've always read science fiction and fantasy books. I suppose my dad read me a lot of adventure books when I was really little. Things that you just don't hear about nowadays. And things like Arthur Ransom, where the kids go out on a boating adventure and call themselves pirates and adventurers and name islands after themselves and things like that. I used to read 200 fantasy books a year, every year. Now I'm down to about 150 because I simply don't have the time. But yeah, I still read really voraciously. And part of the adventure of the books and being put into a different place that the books give me, I've translated into Larps. I actually enjoy making t-shirts about Mordavian because I get to show people who aren't Larpers something interesting they might enjoy reading about. On the back, Mordavian, just beware.
In order to create a character, players need to choose a race, advantage and profession.
Some people start by looking at the rule book and seeing, oh, that looks kind of fun, I'll play a half-orc or I'll play an elf or whatever, and then go on from there through the rule book in detail, figuring out what sounds best to them. And there's all the different races that you can play: humans, elves, gypsies, fairies, rogue vampires, half-orcs and demons.
Each player writes the background and objectives for their own characters.
It was just an easy character. Basically, I just used my strengths. Just basically thought, medievally, how would I react? How would I behave in these circumstances? And then Creed started taking on a life of his own.
Lynn is very young. She's something like the equivalent of 13.
Lynn, it is my pleasure to meet you. My thanks.
So she's young, she's happy, she's bouncy, she's vibrant. She's basically like someone who's been drinking 3 cups of coffee and a jar of sugar every morning before she gets up. Playing Lynn makes me feel that happy. It's really good.
I'm a noble of the Unseelie Court, which is one of the factions in the fairy realm. That means that we've got some issues with the demons because They recently invaded us, or there's a truce at the moment, and so we're going to try and work that out. And basically, because of the demon thing, the fairies have been fairly preoccupied with dealing with the demons rather than attacking the Dark One directly. So we're probably going to sort out the Dark One this time. We're on the case.
Once a player has created their character, they enter the information into an online character database. The character details are used by the Game Masters during the game. This enables the crew to interact with the players on a more personal level.
He thinks that she's following him. She wants him dead. And this letter will make him think she's actually not what she says she is.
How's he going to get his letter?
It's from the Queen of the Unseelie Fairies. So we need an Unseelie Fairy.
What happened to my character today was a fairy turned up and handed me a letter. And in the letter it said that the Unseelie Queen Ariadne, had decided that one of the other players was treasonous and needed to be brought in for questioning. So I got given the mission of kidnapping another player.
So basically we're going to have an unfair trial. Well, the players don't know this, but they think they're going to do an innocent trial. What's actually going to happen is that she's going to meet the executioner.
And the Queen, as soon as I walked in, the Queen's like, put her head on the block. And I'm freaking out, thinking, wow, this is much more intense than I expected.
Accused, your name is Anya Akturan. Is this correct?
That's the name I was given you.
And are you daughter of the traitor, daughter of Gwydion?
So I've been told. I never found any proof of it.
Carry the seal of guilt around your neck. Do you carry the traitorous heart of your father as well? Put your head on the block.
May I speak?
In your moment when it is your turn. And who asked you to remove your hand from her back? I think you present a smoke screen.
No, ma'am.
I think your traitorous tongue is an inheritance of your father. Obsidian, my patience is running out. Speak now if you will.
She should be banned from Fairy. She likes it in Moldavia anyway. Let her work in Moldavia, save it, or she must live in it.
There is a black poetry in the suggestion. Obsidian, take her wings and place them across the log. Axeman, strike quickly. My time is running thin. Do not worry so much about accuracy, but remove the wings close to the stump so they may not regrow. Now!
We all fell in love with this idea called immersion, where you try and create an environment where it's believable that you are really that person and that you're really doing all that stuff.
You know, you don't react as myself. I don't react as myself as I would in daily life. I start, reacting as the character reacts rather than having to actively think about it. It becomes a second nature. I mean, at one point, I actually found myself eating food that personally I wouldn't normally touch. But it was perfectly in keeping with an elf.
Now, if you get the immersion right and if you kind of fall into the game right, you can. The game becomes almost real. You forget about Hans, who's living in the real world, and you only think of your character. It's kind of like surfing, I guess. You hit the right wave, and you know that the force behind you is the wave. It's not you that's driving it.
The first game, I was so surprised I didn't die. So we went into the woods, we were following this troll because it was running away, and we got ambushed by a whole lot of orcs, and I was trying to run backwards up a path in the dark that I didn't know, and I kept falling over on every corner we came to with orcs right behind me, and I was so surprised I didn't die. It was awesome. I'd never been that scared before.
You'll still have to ignore the cars going past. The street light you can see through a bunch of trees over there. The fact that everyone's swords are made out of foam.
You don't have to worry about the audience, because the audience are other participants, and they're not going to judge you because they're in the same situation, and and making a bigger fool of themselves as you are.
A scroll of your own sacrifice. And Andreasa, to this very day, holds them back with her humanity, her goodwill.
For brief moments, you're actually believing that you're a character in some place. You start to get all those kind of thoughts, and then you're there, and that's immersion.
Has she put water in the toothpaste? Yuck.
That's definitely a philosophy we have with our kids, is that we want to bring them up as creative beings, that playing with swords and, making stuff and, all of that kind of thing, and thinking with your imagination extremely.
You cheated us. You sent Nettlebrand off to the desert. Do you know I spent days and days there digging him out of the hot sand, all thanks to you?
I think that's really, really, really a strong value that both of us have quite deep down.
It's their favourite toys.
Yeah, they love the swords. And they're very good at making sure that they don't do head blows and stuff like that.
And they're really lucky. They try not to, but
And not only has been hit in the head more with a softball than with a padded sword.
Official one?
It's official, yeah. This comes from Bloodlines the Chosen.
Okay.
What he's been very modest about was that at Selwyn College he's on the Advanced Learning Program, which is, if I understand it rightly, it's sort of like a scholarship program. So
yeah, no, I'm doing year 10, where I get year 10 between year 11.
So he's actually working a year ahead of himself.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, pretty much. Half the time he literally talks in a language I don't understand. He's learning Latin and German and Maori on top of everything else he's studying, and it seems to be quite a fast course. I think, if he wants to be a herpetologist or a zoologist, he's going to get it.
We have a mixed, mangled bunch of boxes with costumes and everything that we're trying to figure out what's where. We've got helmets, armour, shields and other items on this table. The following table is costumes, including tentacles and other odd costume type items. And the furthest table is we're endeavouring to create a props table.
In here, which is an old toilet, we're going to be stacking boxes, and next to the toilet, which if you come in here and have a look, next to that we're going to put gear that is just not used except in weekend games.
As you can see, this has got lovely frayed edges. It looks like a rag, and it's only got a couple of ties down the side, so it looks like it's a peasant's dress.
The overarching theme of Mordavia is one of good versus evil. The evil entity of the setting is known as the Dark One. Over the past 7 games, he's been using his influence to create chaos. A deadly swamp is slowly filling the land, and his followers are causing havoc throughout the town.
In the end, the whole campaign is save this world from the expanding swamp, and if you fail, then the swamp finishes expanding and the dark entity from beyond arrives, and everything turns to corruption, and goodbye to that world.
In Reckonings, the town of Berium finds itself under even greater threat from this entity. The future of the entire kingdom is at stake.
The sun set, you're terrified because you know there's ghouls in the woods, so you started running for home. You ran across this guy. He was commanding ghouls to attack the inn, all right, and that he's out in the woods. Okay, so that's the stuff that you need to get across to the players, and you need to be earnest and truthful looking and all that kind of stuff.
And someone
came into the crew room and said, "You'll be perfect."
Yeah, tell them you saw them by the old church. That gives them a nice landmark to them.
The old church. Yeah, that's a good point actually. Maybe we should do it with a key.
Okay, now you want to have good grip on that because we're going to be chasing you all the way up the road. And if we catch you, if you run too slow, we're going to bite you.
And then I'll run in terror.
And then you will really run in terror because you thought it was a game up till then. You ready? Ready?
What are we doing?
Go! Scream! Go!
Having everything in my hand and having people running after me screaming, it's actually quite scary.
It is. It's cool, isn't it? You get
the and being barefoot for some reason was really. It was real, yeah. So.
It's my first time ever as a demon, and after a lot of sort of combat stuff last night and today, I felt like something, just sort of dramatic that I could sort of stretch out. So I went up as a demon, just up to insult some fairies.
Listen to you buzzing them. You're pathetic. I hate all you. I hate all of your kind. You horrible yuck. Oh, I can't believe I'm even standing in this room with you.
We don't know what's going to happen. It could fall either way. I'm happy because it's true, and I'm happy for it to go either way. I'm happy for it to end in disaster or for them to save the day. It's, it's dark, heroic fantasy. If they win, it's heroic, and if they lose, it's dark, and so we win either way.
Although the Game Masters set the plot in motion, they do not control the outcome of Mordavia. The player's decisions and actions have the potential to significantly influence the game.
We got ourselves a star.
So unfortunately, my character's kind of caused this huge, almost civil war. She got captured and was brought back here and interrogated with lots of screaming. My ear is now missing and my finger. And the staff that protects everyone is getting given to the Dark Ones.
The staff is a powerful relic that protects Berium from the encroaching swamp and Dark One followers. The removal of the staff has rendered the town more vulnerable to the influence of evil.
Okay. Will you die? Stonehand is torn from its body, leaving another massive still with another limb is ripped from its body, cut down by 1,000 strikes.
One of the guards who's currently on the ground.
Got a healer? We need lots of healers. Wait your turn. As far as you can see, the ground is stained red and putrid. A mist.
Deep in the forest, the players battle hordes of Dark One followers, led by Nostralinia, son of the Dark One.
We had the final battle, and this is the final battle. This is like the very last remnants of the heroes and the leader of the evil forces of corruption.
I'm Nostralinia, the son of the Dark One. I'm a very, very bad man.
I'm not sure if the players that are left could actually take him out. Possibly, if they coordinated it well.
Keep poking him. Can't get the other two. Yeah, that's one. It was very suspicious. Holy water them! Holy water them!
The outcome of the entire game lies in the hands of the remaining players. If they're unsuccessful, Berium will be lost, and the game of Mordavia will no longer be played.
Stymies! Get that fucking stymies thing going! Play that one! Get that stymies thing going! Come on! Get it! Get it! Knock out. Holy water again. Holy water now. We can try.
After nearly 2 hours of fighting, the players managed to defeat Nostralinia. Their victory enables one last Mordavia game to be played.
I would like to honestly say that I took as many of the bastards with me as I possibly could and died twice. I had no idea Creed was so popular. I had been hugged by nearly every fae for being dead. I've had a number of people actually crying about it. That's kind of surprised me.
It went horribly. Irretrievably wrong. But we managed to win the day in the end, just. Missile weapons did it. We happened to have some daggers. It was harsh, man. Real harsh.
If you want to find out about a rock, you generally find out what the grain size is, and this is very fine, and this is actually amorphous, so it doesn't have a grain size. And how hard the rock is and how easy it is to break. This is quite soft, and this is quite hard. Makes a nice sound. And seeing as it's chert, when you actually hit this with steel, you can actually make interesting sparks and nice gunpowdery smell. I made up a dictionary from the courses and from reading the books to translate spells into and between English and Elvish. The light spell is Oreane kalma kala tinwe siles vanya lome huine elvea ar kalma av ihelle. And then you switch on the torch. I suppose people think I'm vaguely weird, but they think it's amusing, so yeah. I love talking about Moldavia and Larping and so on to pretty much anyone I can get to sit still for 5 minutes.
When I first went to my first LARP game, I would have been, I think I was 14, and I told them I was 15. And I looked 12.
And I was all about setting up quests for my mates to go on and, improve their valour of fighting monsters and good versus evil.
The idea of those games was you have this sword, and you go and find the enemy, and you hit them with your sword.
Oh, look, at the end of the day, it all comes down to drug taking. We're a bunch of out-of-its, right? We just took, when we were younger, we just took a lot of drugs. And once, you get into that scene, and, lots of things are cool. So,
I mean, I wasn't around in those early days with you, but, I mean, you also said that you were a very creative bunch. You had friends who just make stuff. And we were really involved with the Hero Parade for years and years and years. And
so it was that whole scene, everybody was doing something crazy, and so it's just kind of natural that you'd think of something different to do.
The New Zealand live-action role-playing society, NZ Larps, was formed in 2006.
Well, I think this year we've had some phenomenal number, over 50 LARPs, different LARPs, and whereas previously there was pretty much only Moldavia and maybe Skirmish and Quest by Cato, but that was about it.
Do you know what kind of bombs they have?
Oh no, I don't know anything about bombs.
Been any reaction out yet?
Any reaction? Are you kidding? You guys just blew down the fucking Sky Tower.
By cruiser of indeterminate origin. The political ramifications of this are enormous.
So we've got science fiction LARPs, just fighting LARPs, and we also have political sort of LARPs.
Yeah, sure, mostly LARPs are going to be fun. But definitely there's an aspect for LARPs which aren't so much fun as challenging, but in a way that isn't futile.
Okay, so I'm going to run the dungeon thing now, and then we'll do the brim straight off.
Hans, who came on after 3 or 4 games as one of the game masters in Moldavia, told me about a game in Sweden. It was set in around time of World War II, when the Nazis were turning, the Nordic countries into this kind of breeding ground for their Third Reich. And so it was a game where half the players were Nazis turning up in this town, which looked like a 1940s town, and the other half were the townsfolk and it was all about, you know, the some of the townsfolk falling in love with Nazi soldiers and other ones hating them for what they stood for. The thing that really stuck with me was that a description of one girl who spent the whole time, like Anne Frank, hiding, because she was Jewish, from the Nazis in an attic, literally for a whole week for the game, and the only people she saw in the game for that whole week were the Swedish family who bought her food, food and drink, and she was just she said, you know, her reviews is just totally in character for the whole time, often on her own, looking out the window and seeing the Nazis patrolling the streets and stuff, you know. And that idea of, you know, immersion taken to the nth degree, and it not being about trying to solve a problem but just about experiencing the situation, that really stuck with me as a really interesting take on what you can do with the medium.
I'm currently playing Thorunda Mitternacht. I always describe him as a combination of Gil Grissom from CSI, Gregory House from House, and of course Van Helsing from the movie. It's a combination of all three. His character actually belongs to a very secretive part of the Temple of Arana. They're actually monster hunters. They seek vampires who are a plague on mankind, werewolves, that sort of thing. And basically, costume certainly helps with immersion. If you look the part, remember, clothes make the man? Well, in this case, clothes make the elf.
And I look forward to perhaps us concluding some of the business that we've talked about earlier.
I think we shall. Why do I do it? A lot of the great things in life have been done. Everest has been climbed by Hillary. Armstrong's walked on the moon. That sort of thing. Richard Pearce was the first man to fly. But we take it all for granted today. So it's becoming harder and harder to be something exceptional like that in modern life, in daily life. Larping gives you a chance to actually do that. Some people can go overboard and get completely obsessed with the game. I've been accused of that, and I'll have to confess in the past I probably did. When I realised I had no money in the account, I hadn't taken care of the bills, everybody's going, there's nothing in the cupboard to eat, and where the hell have you been for the last, blah amount of time? You've just not shown up. That's when you know you've gone too far.
Anybody that is not a Larper is a mundane in general. I guess, they don't live in their own world like us, therefore they are living in the mundane world and nowhere else.
Some people, you can mention it to, and they go, that's a bit weird, but they can understand. Yeah, it's a hobby. It's fun. Other people look at you and think, you suddenly grown a third eye and a four sets of legs and seem to come from a planet, whatever. Suddenly you cease to be a normal human being, you become a freak.
I had a Board of Trustees meeting the night after the last weekend game of Moldavia, and I've still got a deep scratch here, but like all under here was all cut up because I'd never made armour before and I hadn't sanded it down properly and all that kind of thing, and I didn't really realise until the end of the night that I was actually scratching my arms. And they were all sitting there because I was wearing a t-shirt wondering what had I been up to, and when I explained that I was a fairy, they were like, oh yeah, I guess. The eyes glaze over, they want to know. It's gone. Yeah.
And workmates, a few kind of know that I'm into something to do with swords or fantasy or something like that, but I've taken some swords to work and had a bit of a fight with some people and they thought it was great. But I've never really tried to recruit people. Hello.
Okay, that's it.
No, what time is it?
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock and we've got an bank manager tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll wrap up in 5. Rebecca's not that keen on it. She's like, it's a bit like what I was saying before about, there are certain things in life that are the meaningful things to do, and this doesn't count. It does take a lot of time, especially when you're running games.
are some things that, you know, you can learn the easy way by like reading them and stuff, but there are some things that are harder like that. That if you spray paint rubber and then stretch it and put it on, it won't really stay, you know, how cool it was before. But we were really, where the hell are you meant to read this kind of thing from? It's just completely novice costume maker, just no idea what I'm really doing.
I need to put a soldering iron there. Honestly, I have no idea what the world is doing in the weekends. Because, you know, every weekend I'm like making something or like just, you know, doing stuff up. And I don't know what everyone else is doing. I don't know what the alternatives are. I don't know. I mean, if I wasn't doing this, maybe I'd be volunteering somewhere. Maybe I'd be cleaning up a beach. Maybe I'd be campaigning against oil or whatever the chosen bad guy of the day is. And, you know, maybe the world would be better off that way if I just wasn't, you know, doing all this with my time. But then, you know, that's a lot of hogwash as well, because probably if I wasn't doing this, I'd find choice. I'd find some other totally wasteful hobby and pursue that instead. I've been vegetarian for a lot of my life. I'm really eco-minded, quite sort of careful about where my money's going and who's getting it. 10 years from now, I hope I'm still Larping. And if I'm not, then I hope the world's saved, and I hope I had a part in it.
And hopefully we can overwhelm the players with the size of it.
Imagine lean backwards. The other backwards.
Oh, maybe I find differences. I mean, on me it's hanging up quite high.
Yeah.
I'll go narrow that and go by there.
And it is, I mean, a monster tree is, I think, quite humorous, and I think the whole thing will be a bit humorous for the players as well, you know. It is, I mean, it's a brainless thing. It's like a massive zombie but made out of wood.
The game that's coming up is called Endgame, which is a reference to the end of a chess game where all the major movements and losses of pieces have happened.
The swamp is expanding, it's taking over everything. The Dark One is about to launch some kind of major offensive.
Endgame takes place in one of the few areas of the kingdom not yet overrun with swamp. This is the final opportunity for the players to defeat the Dark One.
So yeah, it's sort of like getting ready for a camping trip, except when you get there at the end, you're not going to be just going to the beach, having a barbecue and, you know, flying a few kites, maybe playing a game of touch or whatever, and that, you know, you're going to go out there and pretend you're an elf for a weekend. It's a, you know.
And save the world, hopefully.
What the fuck is wrong with people? Well, let's go and do this with our weekend. Oh, let's dress up as a tree made of foam.
We are one armed tree!
Careful of the face. Go down! Go down! Go your part! I'm injured, people! We can't retreat, people! We have to stop it! That sounds like a good foul. Keep it making that foul.
kind of hang on down in there.
Are these ones that we can use? Take the princess!
The Game Masters have given Craig the role of town leader. Unknown to the players, he is actually a Dark One follower, sabotaging their efforts to stop the swamp.
The whole way since the players have arrived, I've been spinning this web of lies. I knew that eventually it was going to run out and they would figure out what was going on and who I really was, and that when that happened there would be trouble. And that's exactly what I got.
Do you support the Dark One?
Let them go. What reason have they given?
Answer me!
For you to believe they are innocent.
Is it a yes?
They will.
He supports the Dark One!
No,
Take him down!
Take him down!
No, he doesn't.
It's a lie. Take him down!
It's a lie. Put you up, we fed you, and this is how you repay our kindness.
Once Craig's true identity is revealed, the players interrogate, torture, and eventually execute him. With the swamp closing in on the players, the constant onslaught of Dark One followers continues.
This one, this is the mask, as you can see. It's over the top. Big armour, lots of fur, big weapon. They're really tough to beat down and kill, and they're going to be 7 throughout the weekend.
Strike down! Strike down! Give yourself! Strike me down! Give yourself to the one true God! Shock him!
Larping's a spontaneous thing. It's not like a play or a film where you can script it and you can follow the actions. But it's very hard to get from an image the idea of the character immersion, people actually trying to respond to a situation as if they were in another world or another place and so forth, when really at the end of the day you've got half a dozen people running around in costume. And as to documenting that sort of thing, you've got the same problem, you know. How to impart that just visually, and you can't.
Some people, if their character gets killed, they find it hard to go back over the line. I mean, my character hasn't been killed, but I hope it wouldn't be too hard to go back, because I know in some way Lynn will always be a part of me. That's fine, I can deal with that.
Cleanse this land! Cleanse this land!
Yeah, I got poisoned by one of the cultists, and just after I went down, the herald came past and went knocked down, finishing blow.
Strike me down under the Dark One! No!
I started crying, and then I started crying, then I stopped crying, and then a whole lot of people came up and mourned over me, which was kind of really neat. And quite tired, a little sad, but yeah, it happens.
Trying to keep my job here, not get hung for treason.
It's an amazing experience. People have made friendships, they've got relationships out of this, you know. It's almost a lifestyle's been built around it. For that to suddenly end is going to be like, the loss of, loss of a friend, really. We'll all sit down and raise a pint to Mordavia and, wasn't it a great game?
The very last, very big encounter is going to be the construction of a gate.
The gate is a direct connection between the Dark One and the players. In order to seal the Dark One off forever, the players need to throw a series of magical stones through the gate.
So it's kind of all coming to the end, really.
We just want to make everyone up. We're going to do the last scene now. That's going to be the marching scene. So I'm going to get everyone in white face paint.
White face to start.
When you come out of the gate, I want you to stop and I want you to march out.
As the gates open, a horde of Dark One followers attack. It opens for short periods, allowing one stone to be thrown at a time.
I place the seventh stone into the place of nothingness!
On ground, knock down the ground. Knock down the ground. Knock down. Again, cannon fire.
They whittled the players down, and even though it was the toughest ones were left, it was towards the end. It just wasn't enough.
It was overwhelming.
When they all come out, he's going to pick them all up and then start. Where's the other?
We place the first stone into the place of nothingness! We place
Let's check the princess.
How many Mordavians are alive?
3.
Yeah, it's an emotional feeling to stand there in a field of just dead bodies last night, and just to know it's all your friends and characters that have passed away, and you're one of the few people surviving, let alone the fact of the fall of the Dark One.
It's good to see that it's finished. It had its day.
I wasn't here, I was in the city.
And it ended on an awesomely wicked high note, and the players won, which is that's pretty cool.
So, yes, real twist in the tail for the end of that one. I was not expecting to be made steward of Mordavia. So, essentially, with the help of the White Council, I now rule the kingdom. I came here to get a job done, go home and retire. I am absolutely knackered. I'm glad that we won. I'm actually, because last night I just didn't take part in the last battle at all. I was just way too exhausted.
The players have managed to save the kingdom by defeating the Dark One. After nearly 6 years, the Mordavia game has finally ended.
It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be Mordavia. No matter how many LARPs are, there's always that one special touch to a LARP which makes it what it is.
I'm as happy as Larry is. And if people can, watch the documentary and go, well, he's fucking happy. Maybe if I did what he's doing, then I'm going to be happy. Then, cool. Because I want someone to play with.